I want to expand the opportunities for people to be resourced by GraceFinder and the website at gracefinder.org. So in doing that, I'd like to develop a video blog. And first thing I'd like to work with is the book Leading with a Limp by Dan Allender. I found it very helpful in working with students and helping people to identify the core challenges of life and in being a leader. And actually this book overturns many things that people have as assumptions of leadership, as it's being the most front runner, the one who's strongest, the one who's most outspoken. Instead, this book asks, what are you in for? And it says, if you're a leader, you're in for the battle of your life. It goes against many of the assumptions, the challenges, and really it talks about the impossibility of being a leader. Unless we are reluctant leaders, or those leaders who don't go in there thinking that we can change the world, but that we have the humility to be who we are and limp as leaders. The core assumption in the book, it says on page 2, to the degree you face and name and deal with your failures as a leader, to that extent you'll create an environment conducive to growing and retaining productive and committed colleagues. Interesting viewpoint, going against some of the typical ways that various books express leadership. The strange paradox of leading, the book also says, is in this introduction. To the degree you attempt to hide or dissemble your weaknesses, the more you'll need to control those you lead, the more insecure you'll become, and the more rigidity you will impose, prompting the ultimate departure of your best people. We'll talk about this again at another point, but sometimes the people that you want to be there the most recognize the downfall of the leadership situation, and they step out of the picture, unfortunately. And you lose some of those, the best leaders, the ones you really want to stay in the situation, because you've clamped down on the various creativities and the things that people's opinions. And the book also has another assumption. It's not just about self-disclosure or authenticity or acknowledging our shortcomings, which is part of many leadership books and about being a good leader. But it's that the outright dismantling of these in front of those we lead. And that's a different perspective, and we'll unfold that as we go along in this video blog. The challenge is that there's no hiding of failure in this approach, no avoiding of complexity, or trying not anyway. Again, none of us can do this perfectly. But being the chief repenter, as Tim Keller says, the head sinner, not hiding the need for grace, which points again to an underlying assumption and principle that we hold to at GraceFinder, that we all need grace, and that our lives are without it will go fruitless, and we won't be the leaders we're meant to be. So why do we hide, the book asks? Why is it so rare to name our failures? Page 4 says, what keeps leaders trapped in a siege mentality, cut off from the data they need in order to make better decisions? What does that? Many things, various things. Fear, narcissism, addiction, fatalism, and the book points to a few others. Fear because it's so hard to admit fear, and take a risk in admitting that you're fearful and that you don't know where you're going. Narcissism because it's easier to control and to be seeking to oversimplify and find the path of rigidity and dogmatism. It's then to be open and name that we actually are being self-centered and that we're focusing on ourselves and not seeing the bigger picture. And addiction, it's easier sometimes to pull away and get away from the situation than it is to face the chaos and the complexity. Really, overall, this book challenges us to consider a paradoxical risk of giving up our life, to find it by facing, naming, and bearing your weaknesses. Instead of responding to challenges with cowardice, rigidity, narcissism, hiding, and fatalism, rather we would seek to lead with a limping courage, a limping depth, gratitude, openness, and hope as a solution to the crises that occur, to complexity that comes, to betrayal, to loneliness, and to weariness. We'll go through each chapter. We'll look at the challenges of leading with a limp over the next months in this video blog. And so we'll see you then. Maybe pick up a copy and follow along with us. It'd be great. Otherwise, just come and listen in. And as we develop this, I hope that it might even be possible we could develop it as a resource for the campus, for the church, and for the city as we seek to find grace in all of life. Thanks.